My name is Wendy, and I am a reference librarian at Grandview Heights Public Library. I'm here to do your book talk for you this week. I'm going to go a little bit off the way we normally do these. Summer to me is always about big blockbuster movies, superhero movies, Endgame, Justice League. A few years ago, we had Wonder Woman. This year, finally, we're going to get Black Widow. So I decided to focus my book talks for you on female superheroes. These are going to be book talks for 4th through 12th grade, and hopefully you'll find something you like. There will be a list attached to this post that gives you links to all of the books in their various formats. So yeah, let's get started. The first book that I'm going to talk about is actually a nonfiction book, and it's called The Fangirl's Guide to the Universe. There's an earlier version of this book that is actually The Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy, but when the author, Sam Maggs, updated it, she expanded it to the entire universe. So I've always been a fangirl, and over the years, there's been a lot more stuff that's available, easily available through the internet. Basically, though, say you have a favorite fandom, like you're really into Marvel or DC. It doesn't even have to be superheroes. It can be just any TV show, Supernatural, Doctor Who. It can be a band that you particularly like, movies, music, TV. It can be anything. And, maybe you just don't know how to express your devotion to this particular, to be the best fan that you can be. So this kind of gives you some hints how to do that. It is specifically directed towards superheroes and TV movies in this book, but it can give you lots of hints, whether, like I said, whether it's Harry Potter even. It is addressed here in the title to fangirls, but really it's applicable to anyone who is a fan of any sort of thing, whatever it is that you're a fan of. There's interviews sometimes with authors who have written DC or other books that are specific to movies. But again, it just gives you some hints as to how you can express your fandom best. So the first novel that we're going to talk about here is Katana at Superhero High. This is a series they started off with like Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Batgirl, the more well-known DC superheroes. And now it's moving on to Katana, who's a little bit less known. She is a samurai warrior. Her grandmother was also a samurai warrior superhero. And basically this is her learning a little bit about her heritage. There's also a villain to fight, someone who is actually tied to her grandmother and her history. Also, this one is by Lisa Yee. She has a little bit of Ohio connection. She was the children's author in residence at Thurber for a few years ago. So a little interesting Ohio connection. Again, this is Katana at Superhero High by Lisa Yee. The next title that we have is The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Squirrel Meets World by Shannon and Dean Hale. When I started this, I was listening to the audiobook and I was having a really hard time getting into it. Like I just didn't understand like where the character's voice was coming from. But it grew on me throughout listening to it. There's very funny instances that occur in here. It's not alternating chapters, but every once in a while you get a chapter that's in the voice of one of Squirrel Girl, Doreen Green's actual squirrel friends. The premise of Squirrel Girl, in case you didn't know, is that she's a regular girl, except she also has a squirrel tail, and she has the same powers that a squirrel would have. And normally you don't think of a squirrel having powers, but they actually have very strong teeth. They can jump really far. You've seen them jump from tree to tree, I'm sure. So she has the same powers, but to the size that she is as a human girl. Basically, she's just moved to a new school, which is something I'm sure some of you can identify with, and she's trying to fit in, trying to find some friends, yet also she really wants to be herself, and herself is Squirrel Girl. There's something evil going on. Someone is trying to hurt a lot of the animals in the neighborhood, and she wants to save them. So that is Squirrel Girl, Squirrel Meets World. The next one I have here is a graphic novel. It's actually labeled Captain Marvel, Aim Small, but honestly, I would probably say that it's more of a Unstoppable Wasp story. So basically you have Wasp, Nadia Van Dyne, and she is going on a driving lesson with Captain Marvel up here. They are attacked by some AIM, the bad guys, agents, and in the course of trying to not get killed, Nadia changes not only herself to Wasp size, but also Captain Marvel as well. So it's kind of about like learning that there's some ideas in there that, you know, just because you aren't presenting yourself the way you normally are, you still have powers. So again, Captain Marvel, Aim Small. The next one that we have here is another Marvel title. This is Shuri. I'm sure some of you remember her from the Black Panther movie, also Endgame. She is the younger sister of T'Challa, the ruler of Wakanda, and she is basically a science genius. In this one, this is when she's a little bit younger, so before the events of Black Panther and Endgame. She discovers that the herb that actually gives the king of Wakanda, or the Black Panther, his powers, is dying. And even she realizes that, you know, even if her brother isn't always going to be the Black Panther, that herb needs to be preserved for future generations. So we have a little bit of a environmentalism aspect here. So she goes to search, somewhat against her mother's wishes, to find out what's going on. One thing that I really liked about this was that we have like some little guest spots that you don't really think of with regard to Marvel. Storm from the X-Men shows up, and it's just a little interesting little sidelight there. This is by Nick Stone, and it is Shuri. The next one is another Marvel title, The Unstoppable Wasp, Built on Hope. And at first when I started reading this, I was a little bit confused because this is not the Hope Van Dyne of that we see in the movies, like Ant-Man and Wasp or in Endgame again. This is an alternate universe, 616, if you are that much into Marvel. And in this one, we have Nadia Van Dyne, not the Hope Van Dyne that we know from the movies, who is a teenager, and she lives in, she was raised in the Red Room, just like Black Widow, but now she is sort of being raised by her stepmother, Janet Van Dyne, and is trying to promote women in science through the company that her father founded. So there's a lot of this is her like kind of trying to find herself, balance her life. One of the things that she's also dealing with is the fact that she is bipolar. So she's having to deal with not only all the normal teenage things and trying to find herself and balance her life, but she's also has some mental health issues, which is something that a lot of people have to deal with, and not something that we've really seen with regards to graphic novels or DC or Marvel universes before. It's something that it's kind of a unique thing to her. And so for her name day, she is given by her stepmother a Vera, which is like a digital personal assistant, but it's so far beyond anything like what we're used to in our world. And we kind of know early on that there's something kind of nefarious going on there, but you know, her friends see it, maybe Nadia doesn't. We have to kind of follow along and go through the mistakes that Nadia is making and the successes she has as well. This is by Sam Maggs, the same author as that first book that I showed you, The Fangirl's Guide to the Universe. And yeah, The Unstoppable Wasp, Built on Hope by Sam Maggs. The next one, almost last, is finally getting to another DC title here. Oh, sorry. Danielle Page, Mira Tidebreaker. Danielle Page, you might know her. She wrote the Dorothy Must Die series. This is another graphic novel, and it's basically how Mira is trying to prove herself to her father so that she will eventually become the Queen of Zebel. One of the things that I like best about this is honestly the colorization. If you look inside, everything is in kind of aqua tones with the exception of her hair, kind of giving you that underwater feel, which is not to say that it all takes place underwater. But again, she's trying to prove herself to her father and decides that to do so, she's going to have to kill Arthur Curry, who is the Crown Prince of Atlantis. He will eventually become the ruler. We know him more likely as Aquaman. So this is when they're a little bit younger. This is the first time they meet. And yeah, so she's trying to figure out what she's willing to do to prove herself and who she really wants to be. Mira Tidebreaker by Danielle Page. The last one that I'm going to talk about, finally, is Gamora and Nebula, Sisters in Arms. Whoops, sorry. This one isn't out yet, but it is still available that you can already put on hold. Mackenzie Lee is the author. She has written other books that I have talked to you about previously. There was a book called Loki that she did that I really liked as well. So in this one, we know Gamora and Nebula from the Guardian series, also the Endgame as well. And we know that they have a really fractious, say, relationship. They're enemies in the first Guardians movie, fighting against each other. But eventually they become true sisters and grow to love each other. This is more about like the beginning of their relationship, how their relationship became so bad, how the relationship became so bad, how Nebula started to acquire some of the biomechanical parts that she is made up with, as we see in the movies. They're both, of course, daughters of Thanos, and as such, he sort of loans them out to the highest bidder to do somewhat nefarious things. In this case, they are actually loaned out to two sides of who are fighting for the same thing, and they don't even know that they're on opposite sides of this same coin, basically. And are basically being pitted against each other to see who is going to survive. So again, Gamora and Nebula, Sisters in Arms by Mackenzie Lee. So I hope you've liked or are interested in maybe a couple of the titles that I talked about. If not, we also have a service called Discover Your Next Read, where we can find out some of what your interests are and suggest a list of books to you. So you look for that on our website. I guess that's it, and have a good day. Bye-bye.